You already know most modern furniture isn't made to last, but what if an old forgotten dresser left on the side of the road still had another 100 years left in it? Several months ago, someone emailed me about an old piece of furniture and some fruit punch sitting out for trash pickup. When I arrived, I found this early 1900s six-drawer dresser, worn out and neglected, but still solid. It's been sitting full of supplies in my workshop for several months, but today I'm going to see if a few hours of work can bring it back to life. My name is Barry, and in this video, we'll uncover the history hidden under the damage, restore the original character, and see if this roadside survivor can become something beautiful again. A statement piece for a spare bedroom, a living area, or an entryway. You see, I considered just sending this piece off to the thrift store because I have 20 to 30 painted vintage furniture pieces to restore, and those videos often get more views for obvious reasons. But not everyone loves mid-century, and some people want to see a refinishing project that they can try for themselves. So I thought of something. What if I took this opportunity to speak directly to many of you who have been watching for a long time? My video style won't suddenly change in the future, but for this video, I'm excited to welcome you into my workshop for something a little different. With all the drawers out, I'll begin removing all the drawer pulls. I'm pleased to find that they're all here for this dresser. Most finishes on old furniture will either be shellac or lacquer. Shellac is simply shellac flakes from the lac bug mixed with denatured alcohol. And if this is lacquer, well then it's simply nitrocellulose mixed with lacquer thinner, which consists of acetone and some other harsh chemicals. If you can't figure out what the original finish is, you can just use a paint stripper. I'll apply this with a chip brush and let it sit for about 15 minutes before scraping off the excess. The way you apply this won't matter much, but what I like to do is just agitate it a little bit with the brush as I apply it. With mostly flat surfaces on this piece, I'll often use the carbide scraper. This is probably a $20 or $30 tool, and it's one of the most used tools in my workshop. You want to just make sure that you use the handle as intended, apply gentle pressure with the carbide blade, and then just pull towards you. If this method works, you'll likely save a lot on rags, paint stripper, lacquer thinner, steel wool, etc. I'm looking to see if there's a thin layer of veneer over a press board. It's unlikely with a piece about 100 years old. And at the moment, I don't see a thin layer of veneer, so I don't need to be as careful when scraping the top surface here. With old utilitarian dressers like this, it's common to find a lot of normal wear and tear, scratches, dings, just character to the overall piece after 100 years of use. To neutralize the chemical stripper, I will pour on some of this afterwash product. This will not only neutralize the chemical stripper, but also remove what's left of any of the original finish, or at least most of it. The rest I can just get with the sander. While I was removing the drawers, some of them fell apart, but that's okay, nothing's broken here. Once sanded, I'll just put these back together and re-glue the dovetail joints with Titebond water-based wood glue and a silicone brush. The drawer bottoms are just a plywood lined with thin veneer, so I'll use CA glue to re-secure these. A little accelerator will help these dry quickly. I never know how long a restoration project is going to take me, but I always write out a detailed list of an estimate of how long it will take me, not only for the project, but also for the filming and the editing. I wonder how you plan your own projects. I'm the type of person that plans out just about every hour of the day in the workshop. It's the only way that I can keep up with all the restoration projects in the shop. It often feels like there's no time in the middle of the week to schedule important things like doctor visits and chiropractor appointments. That's why I'm thrilled to partner with today's sponsor, ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a completely free platform that makes scheduling all your medical appointments without the hassle of all the phone calls and other scheduling issues. ZocDoc lets you search and compare in-network doctors right from your phone. You can read reviews from real patients, see the doctor's calendar openings, and instantly book a visit virtually or in person within 24 to 72 hours. No more waiting months just to get that basic checkup. Taking care of your health just got easier and much more efficient. Head over to ZocDoc.com/MadCityModern to get started and check that appointment off your to-do list. Thank you, ZocDoc, for making this restoration possible. Now, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you might be thinking that I'm changing up the style of my videos by speaking directly to the camera. No, I just decided to try and wear a mic to better capture the sounds of the workshop since I live next to a busy interstate. Also, every once in a while, I'll get accused of my videos and voiceovers being AI generated, and I assure you that's not the case. You may want to refinish an old piece of furniture, but you're not interested in using harsh chemicals or wasting the time to use chemicals. You can just scrape this original finish or sand the original finish with a sander. You may just use more sandpaper in the process. I did mention before that most of this dresser has flat surfaces, which should make this easy to sand and refinish. Thankfully, I don't have a bunch of detail areas to sand. I'll just attach a thin pad to the Surf Prep 5-inch orbital sander, then a 150 grit sanding pad. With one simple pass, I can remove most of the lacquer finish, but I will gum up some of the sandpaper in the process, and that's what I'm trying to avoid by using a chemical stripper. For the corners, you could use a mouse sander, which is probably $20 or $30 from a big box store, but in this case, I'll use the Surf Prep 3x4 sander. Once again, the amount of heat caused by the friction will cause buildup of lacquer on the sandpaper, so you'll likely burn through this quickly, but it is an option. These original drawer pulls are solid wood and they don't have much lacquer finish left on them. I think I can just clean these up with the fine wire wheel on the benchtop buffer. Then I'll use a 150 grit sanding sponge to clean these up a bit, and I think that'll be fine. Doing a different style of video like I normally do will likely hurt the audience retention, but this is really what it's like working in my shop every day. I thought it might be fun to share with you just the other day for the first time in my life, And of course, with the help of some younger eyes, I spotted an owl in the tree. And the tree was about 150 years old, and he was sitting down on the lowest branch. Something I've never seen before, and it really made my day. It's not good practice to wear gloves around any machinery, but this benchtop buffer has such low power that I can stop it with my hand. So in this case, I think it's fine. These poles might need a little more sanding, but I'm not going to worry about that until I decide what the final finishes are actually going to be. I already know I'm going to use shellac on this old dresser, and a while back I mixed up some of my own shellac for the first time, using shellac flakes and denatured alcohol. For a simple 2-pound cut of shellac, which is similar to what I might find at the hardware store, I mixed about 4 ounces of flakes by weight with 1 pint of denatured alcohol. I shook the jar a few times every hour, and about 6 hours later, the flakes were completely dissolved in the alcohol. I refer to dressers like this one as utilitarian because they were made to be functional and practical and were mass-produced during the early 1900s. I think this is probably elm or poplar, so I know this piece is structurally sound. The hardware used to build these wasn't often desirable when compared to oak, maple, cherry, or walnut, so once you strip the old finishes, it's completely up to you how you refinish it. You could paint it, whitewash it, stain it, or just apply a natural protective finish. I've refinished nearly a dozen of these old dressers, and more than once I discovered these deep scratches. What I thought was normal wear and tear at one point was actually marks from coarse sandpaper from the factory. Once prepped in a crude manner by today's standards, these pieces were covered with layers of tinted lacquer, or shellac, in this case a walnut color as evidenced by the stamp on the back side. I have many old refinished pieces made from beautiful mahogany, walnut, and oak, so it's sometimes difficult to have the patience with a piece I know won't likely be as beautiful. But these old neglected pieces carry a century of unique stories, and whenever possible, they should be kept out of the landfills. I figure this style could fit into a western theme or a farmhouse theme, so if you're looking for your first furniture project, I know many of you could do this kind of work for less than $100 worth of tools and supplies. Along the way, it's good to tighten all the screws that you find, and sometimes it helps to break off a piece of a toothpick and insert it into the hole so the screw has something more to grab onto. I decided it would be much easier just to remove the top of the dresser to be able to sand all the hard-to-reach areas. Once all the surfaces have been sanded with 150 grit, I'll go over all the edges with a 150 grit sanding pad. I'll use the fine wire wheel on the benchtop buffer to remove the rust and debris from the original screws. There was a lot more scraping and sanding to do over the next several hours, but once everything was sanded, I was ready to apply clear shellac. You could spray shellac from an aerosol can, but I chose to just brush it on, since this is a rather primitive piece. Ideally, you want to brush this on with one stroke, with the brush at about 30 degrees. But with this application, a thick 2 to 3 pound cut, that was nearly impossible. This is the moment you'll either be thrilled watching the wood grain come to life, or shocked to see that brushed shellac on elm or poplar may leave you with many contrasting tones throughout. I knew to expect the contrast, and with any natural wood, it's a joy to stand back and admire the beauty, or what some might consider imperfections. After several light coats of shellac and 320 grit sanding in between, I was ready to call this project done. I started staging in the workshop like I usually do, but then I realized it was golden hour, and with the last few minutes of light from the sun, I thought, for better or worse, let's just see how this piece actually looks in natural lighting. Is it perfect? No, but these days I often pass by most of the perfect furniture pieces, and my eyes are drawn to the ones that look like maybe they have a story to tell. My name is Barry, and thank you for joining me. I'll see you again very soon. Goodbye for now.